Once, there was a wicked sprite that enjoyed playing tricks on others. He was one of the most mischievous sprites that ever lived. One day, he was in a really good mood. Do you know what wicked sprites do when they're in a good mood? They craft something terrible and interesting. This sprite thought it would be a good idea to make a mirror. It was no ordinary mirror. It had some strange powers. Anything that was beautiful, pure and good looked ugly, terrifying and evil in the mirror. Those things that were already good for nothing and a sore to the eye looked even uglier and even more horrific. The sprite was delighted to find that the mirror grinned whenever someone had a good thought. He showed his precise mirror to all the little sprites in his school, and there were hoots and screeches of delight. They were glad to have the mirror and flew around holding it all the time. They looked at the people through it, and eventually there wasn't a single person who didn't look ugly or distorted. In their excitement, they flew higher and higher until they were close to the stars. Suddenly, the mirror grinned and shook so much that the sprites couldn't hold it any longer. It went crashing through the skies and shattered into a million pieces, some as big as a person and others as tiny as a grain of sand. It was only after it broke that the mirror worked even more evil than ever before. Anybody who got a grain of the shattered mirror in their eye saw the world as a bleak and ugly place. Some people got a splinter in their heart. Then the mirror sucked all the love out of the heart and turned it into a lump of snow, cold and cruel. Some of the broken pieces were as large as window panes. Some shards went into people's spectacles, and even when they looked at their friends through them, all they saw were horrible, distorted creatures. The shattered glass dust floated around in the air. The evil sprite was delighted because the mirror was working better than he'd ever hoped it would.
This mirror is my greatest invention ever.
The greatest indeed.
Let's check how it works. Everything should look disgusting in this mirror. Ha ha ha! Just look at this. It's so ugly. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Look, it's so skewed.
Our teacher's a genius.
Excellent. This mirror works very well. And now, my little trolls, show this mirror to the whole world. Let's spread discord and confusion among the people.
We will get all humans to look into the mirror. Look at these ugly reflections. Let's find all of them. Shards of the mirror scattered around the world.
That's good. Shards of the broken mirror will bring even more evil to the world. Ha ha ha!
In a large town, there lived a boy and a girl, Kay and Gerda. They lived next door to each other, but anybody who saw them playing together would have thought they were brother and sister. The town was so crammed with houses that the people had no place for gardens. They were content with a couple of flower pots. But the children had something just about as good as a garden. At the place where the roofs of the two houses met, they had large wooden boxes with vegetables and lovely rose bushes. Sometimes they took their stools and sat among the bushes and pretended that they were in their own big garden. But when the winter came, the children could no longer sit outside. They had to be content with playing inside the house. One day, Gerda and Kay were sitting by the window in Kay's house. Kay's grandmother, who was looking at the snowflakes, said quietly,
"The white bees are swarming."
Kay and Gerda looked at her in surprise.
Grandma, do the bees have a queen?
Kay asked.
"Oh, yes, they do,"
said Grandma.
"Where the swarm hangs in thick clusters, she flies there. Sometimes she flies into towns and peeps in through the windows. When she does that, the most beautiful patterns form on the window pane. Have you both seen this happen?"
Kay and Gerda nodded. They'd seen it many times, so Grandma was telling the truth. That evening, when Kay was sitting by the window alone, he saw something remarkable. He noticed that one snowflake was larger and prettier than the rest and sparkled in the moonlight. The flake of snow grew larger and larger, and at last it was like a young lady dressed in the finest white gauze made of 1,000,000 little flakes like stars. She was so beautiful and delicate. But she was made of dazzling sparkling ice and was so full of life. She turned around to look at Kay. She nodded towards the window and beckoned with her hand. Kay was frightened and jumped down from the box. It seemed to him as if, at the same moment, a large bird flew past the window. The next day was very different. There was snowfall at first, but afterwards the sun shone brightly. Kay and Gerda cheered up because green leaves were sprouting on the trees, the birds were singing, and the windows were thrown wide open. That summer was very special because the roses that bloomed were prettier than ever before. Gerda learned a hymn that mentioned roses. She sang it to Kay, and he liked it very much. They immediately sang it together.
"The rose in the valley is blooming so sweet, and angels descend there the children to greet."
They felt so good after singing it that they went around kissing the roses. They enjoyed that summer thoroughly, and their memories were full of fresh rose bushes, warm sunshine, and laughter.
Kay, we haven't taken care of the flowers for quite some time now.
Yes, we have to clean it up. Can you help us with the cleaning? First, let's pull out all these weeds.
Good job. Now the flowers can grow without any hindrance. What's next? I think we have to cut down all the dry branches and leaves. We need hedge clippers for this job.
If the branches grow longer than they are now, they will look untidy. We should trim them down. Excellent. Now we need to water the flowers. We need a watering can. What is this book you have in your hands, Gerda?
This is an encyclopedia of animals. We need to place each animal close to its own silhouette on the map. Help us. Of course, the reindeer live only in the northern hemisphere. The reindeer help Santa Claus deliver presents at Christmas time. Exactly. This is an elephant. It lives in Asia and Africa. It is the biggest land animal in the world. That's right. This is a giraffe. It lives in Africa. The giraffe also has a long neck and eats leaves from the tall trees. This is a horse. It can carry goods and people. There are so many amazing animals that live in the world. I'm so glad my teacher gave me this book. By the way, we had singing class today at school. I learnt a lovely song.
Wow, that's great. Go ahead and sing it.
Okay. The rose in the valley is blooming so sweet, and angels descend there the children to greet.
Now that's such a beautiful song.